one of the stories that continues to live, either through rumors or social media out in the world, is that you, Meghan, are the one who manipulated, calculated, and are responsible for this Megxit.
Oh my gosh. It's amazing how they can use Meg for everything.
Yes. There are even stories that you knew all along that this was going to happen. You went through the whole process, and it was all intentional to build your brand.
Can you imagine how little sense that makes? I left my career, my life. I left everything because I love him, right? And our plan was to do this forever.
For us.
Our plan for me, I mean, I wrote letters to his family when I got there saying, I am dedicated to this. I'm here for you. Use me as you'd like. There was no guidance as well, right? There were certain things that you couldn't do, but unlike what you see in the movies, there's no class on how to speak, how to cross your legs, how to be royal. There's none of that training. That might exist for other members of the family. That was not something that was offered to me.
All right, I'll go first on this one. When she says, you, Meghan, you see that little head pop, she's getting ready to, she's already in defense mode on this. I don't know if she must think Oprah's going to attack her. Oprah's not that style of interviewer. Sometimes she is, and sometimes, and because she's great at it, but in this case, she's not. And then while she's talking, she gives that back me up glance over to Harry. She's going along like, back me up, man. I'm doing this. Then as her head pops, you see his head turn and give it one of these, like, are you going in here? What are we doing? So they're both on, I think, what you would call high alert for an attack from Oprah. And Harry, you see this little bitty I'm not even sure. I'm not going to call it micro expression of anger, but boy, it sure looks like it. There's so much going on with his face. Doesn't look like a whole lot's going on most of the time, but when he gets in there, I can't decide if they're these little ticks he has or if it's actually these little micro expressions. And then they're both sitting very still as they go through this, really still, because they're waiting for an attack as they go through this. I guess it's really their first big interview they've done with anybody, so they're waiting for the big bombs to drop. But Oprah's not that style of interview. So I think that's what we're looking at. And then for her answer, obviously it's can you imagine? It's chaff and redirect. I hate to steal Greg's thing there, but that's what that is. She doesn't really answer it. She just starts off, can you imagine? And goes into this thing, what people must think and how they must act, all those things, where she should just give an answer. That's what we think she should just do. But in this case, it's classic chaff and redirect. Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, so agree. Chaff and redirect. She doesn't answer the question. Can you imagine Meghan? They use Meghan for everything. Got it. Yeah, she just runs away with the question. Interestingly for me is watching his body language. When she asked the question in the beginning, I see pub act. If I were in a pub and saw a guy go like this, something's coming. That's pre-aggression when you're in those situations. So I think he's a little like, hold on a second. He cocks his head a little bit, looks at her, and then he realizes, hey, it's not an attack. But you see, there's conflict body language for sure there. He does kind of a half smile there. So he's got asymmetric behavior, and we know asymmetric behavior is never positive. Works his jaw a little bit. All of that's conflict preparation. All of that's conflict preparation. So it's a little condemning. His blink rate's up, hers drops. And then she does into, oh my God, this piece. When she starts talking about there are no classes, well, here's why royals married royals for centuries, because their life is that class. They didn't have to learn. And even to the point, if you look at pre-World War I, there are people who believe that World War I may have started over a family spat between people who are all descended from Queen Victoria living in different countries ruling now. So guys, this is a complex thing, the world they live in. So I'm sure they don't have, Mark, you may have had some of those classes. We don't get those because, we're provincials. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, when she says there are no classes, or maybe other people get it, watch him rifle through his Rolodex of visual memory to see if there are classes that other people have gotten. See his eyes go up left as he's trying to recall. Is there a class for other people that she just didn't get exposed to? So interesting to watch. I think he was ready, to your point, Scott, he was ready to hammer. And then he realized, oh no, I don't have to do that. He backed down. He is, however, barriering, meaning barriers mean I need space. I put something between me and you. And you see it increase in him here and doing some adapting. And I refer to that as sacred space. I've left it out in a few places here. I'll bring it up from now on. But if you watch, in the coming videos, you'll see it progressively more. There's also going to be some more subtle nuance communication coming up soon. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, so I think Oprah kind of does her lawyer act. You, and it's a surprising tone. And therefore, I think, yes, Meghan is surprised by that. Yeah, Harry does come in with the ear. His breathing rate goes up as well. So he's like, hang on, what's going on? What's going on here? So yes, he's getting ready for aggression. She looks for support. Corner of his mouth raises in response to her. But then once he realizes it's okay, he goes back and he locks down into what I would say is kind of his interrogation pose. I think he knows how to handle himself in these situations because I think he's been trained in a number of places how to handle himself, and he is locked down hard. It's nice to see that there's this lovely little moment where he opens up his thumbs. He kind of does an open palm gesture, but just with the thumbs there. I think that's around the idea of letters being written. I think there's some honesty from both of them around what they thought their role was, and her going, I will just fit in and do this. And I think she truly did write some letters. But what's most interesting for me is this metaphor or idea really from Oprah of out in the world. So she said, yeah, but out in the world, here's the perception of you. And isn't it a wonderful location that they have there, which is essentially a walled garden, or what we call a paradise. Paradise simply means walled garden, somewhere which is beautiful, which the rest of the world can't get into. It's interesting that they have set themselves up to be interviewed about their actions, out in the world within this location of the paradise. So there's a weird kind of juxtaposition there between royalty and the rest of us. And yet there aren't any classes for how to be royal. There are classes for them in how to kind of fit in a little bit better with everybody else at public occasions. And it's interesting. So Harry is wearing a Ludlow suit from J. Crew. I don't know if anybody out there knows about J. Crew. The Ludlow suit's not a super expensive suit. It's not like he went to Jermyn Street and got himself a suit, or Savile Row. And it's a kind of a very ordinary suit that's equated with, one of your first jobs. You go and get yourself a J. Crew suit, maybe. So he's really kind of lowering the idea of his status to, just ordinary guy from out there. And yet there they are in this paradise. You have Meghan there with one of his mother's bracelet on there as well, diamond bracelet invoking the spirit of the mother. Now, remember, Diana is on a goddess status. She even has the same name as a Greek goddess. So she has a godlike status. He is a son of somebody with godlike status sitting in paradise. So what an extraordinary scene to evoke the idea of out there in the world, the sense of their life is not of the world of us ordinary people. There you go. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, Mark, I agree with you that you're going to see interesting behaviors from a guy who's had training from people like you, from people like the Queen, and from people like this guy up there. Because that's going to be a good mix, a very interesting mix. And this anger that he has when the question starts coming up, I like that. I think that's what a husband should do. There's a threat. He's going to say, wait, I'm going to stop it. And she is frozen during this question, which is a very notable thing, that her whole body is still, because this natural movement of her tilting her head, nodding and listening is shut down because she is laser focused on a potential threat. And that tends to shut down a lot of our unnecessary motor function, which is what we're seeing here. And I think it's really notable that she's using the word Meg in third person. Only time she does it is when there's something negative. That's somebody else. So she's dissociating herself from the negative activities that are happening. And Harry shows instant contempt again when Oprah is saying this is the thing to build your brand. And I will admit, I didn't know who this person was. I didn't know who Meghan was until we made a choice to do this video, and I had to Google her.
Did you?
More than she did. Yes.
But did you Google her? Is the question.
I did. So from what I understand, she's on a little TV show here in the U.S., and she's saying she sacrificed this tiny celebrity show, celebrity status, to go be a princess. And that's a tremendous sacrifice. If I got that wrong, it's interesting in here that she goes back to repeating the sentence to stop Harry from speaking. Doesn't look at him, doesn't reach over and touch his arm as she continues. But that's what people do when they want their point to be very well understood and they want to shut somebody else up. They'll go back to the beginning of the sentence, not continue speaking. They'll start all the way over to make sure that the point is communicated. I think that was very telling of the relationship there. And I want you to pay very close attention to how she uses her hands and movements. She's a trained actress, good or bad, I have no idea. I've never seen her. But when she says, I'm here for you, she's separating her hands. I'm here for this. I'm dedicated to this. And everything is pulling her hands apart. And you'll see her in later interviews where she's saying we need to come together on this. So everything is very fluent. She's bodily fluent when she's speaking. I think that's very interesting here that she's using that separation gesture. But what she's doing here is moving the locus of control. I want you to watch it like a little piece on a chessboard. Locus of control is moving further and further away from her. Anything bad that happened, I'm not responsible for it. So I'm not saying she's lying or being deliberately deceptive or that this is a fake interview or anything like that. But this is a moving piece. So if you're training it to be a psychologist, this is one of the first things you learn in psychology is the patient or the client moving the locus of control piece away from themselves. And how often do they do that? That's a good data point. And that's all I got.
Excellent.
One of the stories that continues to live, either through rumors or social media out in the world, is that you, Meghan, are the one who manipulated, calculated, and are responsible for this Megxit.
Oh my gosh. It's amazing how they can use Meg for everything.
Yes. There are even stories that you knew all along that this was going to happen. You went through the whole process, and it was all intentional to build your brand.
Can you imagine how little sense that makes? I left my career, my life. I left everything because I love him, right? And our plan was to do this forever.
For us,
our plan for me, I mean, I wrote letters to his family when I got there saying, I am dedicated to this. I'm here for you. Use me as you'd like. There was no guidance as well, right? There were certain things that you couldn't do, but unlike what you see in the movies, there's no class on how to speak, how to cross your legs, how to be royal. There's none of that training. That might exist for other members of the family. That was not something that was offered to me.
Good.
All right. If you like this video, get the full body language breakdown and analysis on our main channel by clicking this video right here.